specialized in Africa and it was very eye-opening.
Yeah.
What was eye-opening about it? What did you?
Yeah, because with the speciality, like with kind of focusing on Africa, there was some extra courses I did that was like, okay, African economy, like focusing on it, and I did the degree thinking that okay, something ain't right, like why are Africans treated the way they are? Why is Africa here and every other continents are here? And the stuff didn't make sense. So I thought, okay, let me see if this degree will help me to figure out what's going on. And yeah, I realized that, sometimes we have this conception that, oh yeah, we can't get it together, we're just not that smart, like we just, haven't figured it out. But then you realize that there's a system in place that is very, very methodical, that has taken centuries to build up, that has like put a lot of hindrances in place whereby it's like we make progress and we get torn down, or there are a lot of issues with the system that really gives us like a glass ceiling where it's very difficult to break out, especially when we don't have unity amongst the different African countries. So there's a plethora of different issues that it will take a long time to get into, but yeah, it's just being able to specialize in African economies, like that alone is like a life's work, because it's so deep, basically.
Facts are that the African economy is rather below than above, like Western economies.
Well, Ghana's growing bigger.
It's growing, but it's still. You can say growing. African economies are fastest growing in general, but it doesn't change the facts and the stats.
Yeah.
If you look at it generally, if you visit Africa, you can see like education and all of these things. It's lacking of that in Africa, as well as schools. And I spoke recently I spoke to my partner's mom, which is a Ghanaian lady, and she was talking about how Africa was when the colonies were still there. And she was speaking highly of the colonies. She was saying that they were building schools, they were building schools, they introduced machinery, and they did a lot of things. And since they left, nothing really has been done.
I understand what she's saying, because I have a very close relationship with my grandmother, and she says the same thing, and it's like, we could say, they don't know what they're saying, but it's just like, at the end of the day, it's just like, that's what they were born into. That's all they know.
And I think context is very important when you have these conversations. Like, I'm not really of the rhetoric of, 400 years we've been here and we're still stuck. But a lot of this history is extremely recent history. We look at America. I know we're British, so we kind of live in this kind of fake reality, but you still go around the world now and you look at the way black people are treated in Brazil, France, Spain, even now to the point that you go to places like Nigeria, you go to Ghana, and you see how systemic racism is still like a fact of life. Londoners have an extremely, unique kind of view. We do have some semblance of a community here, therefore we can act like we're above these issues. However, go to Spain, you quickly see the difference. You go to South Africa, you quickly see the difference. And also when you talk about like the difference in education in Africa, I mean, I definitely don't agree with that, because if you look at 10 and 11-year-olds, compare them to their Nigerian, Ghanaian counterparts, the Nigerian, Ghanaian counterparts are far beyond them. I think opportunity is the key issue. And then when you look at it in a contextual kind of way, it's very easy to see how those opportunities haven't sufficed. It takes time to build systems. It takes time to build institutions and industries that people can engage in. And we as British people have the benefit of kind of, all of these things are kind of made. But when we look at the recent history, who made them, who built them, who was Barclays, who was the original, what were the original bonds in Barclays Bank? They were slavery bonds for you and my ancestors.
Let's go! And
we as like recent kind of, in this generation, look at our mothers, our grandmothers, like they like Tremaine just said, grew up in like this post-colonial kind of reality. They didn't grow up in the village when these white men came over, said that this is wrong, and you're a devil for doing this, and this is your Jesus, and fought and have wars and murders and kills for years and years and years. No, they grew up in a reality where everything that was rich, everything that was right was white, which is why all of us are here right now, because if everything wasn't right, I'd still be sunning it in Nigeria, you know what I mean? So you know, I feel like we just have a responsibility to return the former glory of our ancestors, of our motherland. But at no point would I incite us to, you know, stay in this kind of past kind of rhetoric of the white man do this, the white man, because you know the white man's going to do what the white man's going to do, the Chinese man's going to do what the Chinese man's going to do, the Indian man's going to do what the Indian man's going to do. I do think our situation is slightly different. However, what are you going to do? We got to just build.
You have to build. The main thing that was very eye-opening for me is just that, like, back when, of course, colonialism happened, and that happened for a certain amount of centuries or whatever, and part of that colonialism was very unfair trade deals, where it's just like, okay, let's say for example Ghana has all of this gold, or Nigeria has all of this oil, and so Europe will be extracting it for like, and then the country would get like pennies in exchange. And the thing that really opened my eyes is that regardless of whether there's 1960s independence, whatever, those same exact trade deals, those trade structures are exactly the same. They haven't changed.
I always say this one that could you imagine the Queen of England, whoever's earning all that money, all that peas that she get from Nigeria on like October 30th, when's Nigeria independent? October 31st or something, isn't it?
No,
first. Okay, so like she's September 30th, 1st or 30th, whatever it is saying earning this amount of money, she signs a treaty and she's saying she's going to take zero. That's a complete fallacy.
So, based on these trade deals, I mean, who signed them?
Okay, so I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about signing anything, because when the deals were done, we didn't have a say. At the end of the day, we were a colonized people. It's just like no one can say we didn't fight or we didn't resist, because we did. But due to our own lack of unity at the time, and due to the fact that we weren't in a position to necessarily fight outside, we was just doing our thing. Like at the end of the day, this is how I feel about it. In Africa, we had everything we needed. We had the resources, we had the sun, like loving on us, like everything was cool. Like we had abundance. So it's just like we weren't really in a mindset of war. We were just in a mindset. People came, foreigners came, and we're just like, what's good? You want to trade with us?
Oh, European counterparts?
Yeah. You want to
stay fighting?
Yeah, and that's because, let's think about it. Like, I don't even want to throw shade, but when it comes to Britain, what does Britain really have? Potatoes and cows. You know what I'm saying? Like, this isn't technical, but like just in a general sense, like what I'm trying to say is that the land in Africa, everything is naturally just rich in Africa. You know what I'm saying? In terms of resources, in terms of the people, in terms of the spirit of people. And it's just like, we didn't need to be in a spirit of, okay, we're in scarcity, we need to find somewhere. It's just in the UK, there was like, okay, ain't nothing happening here. We need to go around the world and see where we can get our seasonings and spices and whatever.